Stephen Horahan here at BrandMasterAcademy.com, and in this video I want to talk to you about brand authenticity. So what is brand authenticity, what is it not, and how do you do authenticity? Now, I decided to do this video because I was asked a question during the week about brand authenticity, and it was, how do you get the balance between being authentic and appealing to your audience? Now, the question was in relation to personal branding, but the question is relevant for both personal branding and business branding, and it can be broken up into two. But if you think about authenticity, if you think about just people in general, we tend to like people that are authentic, and if we see that people are putting on a facade, if they're not being themselves, then we don't like them. So authenticity is really important, whether it's personal branding or business branding. But how do you do that? How do you go and execute on brand authenticity? Now, let's start with personal branding. Now, if you just think about yourself and think about your own life, and you can think about the people that are in your lives. So you might think of your best friend who you've been best mates with since you were 5 years old, and you know, you've done everything with them, you've grown up with that person, and that person has seen you at your best and they've seen you at your worst, and they've probably seen you do some funky stuff as well. But if you think about the relationship that you have with them, you're pretty comfortable being yourself, being 100% yourself in your own skin with that person. You are truly authentic with that person. And then if you think about, you know, somebody in a professional space, maybe a coworker or your boss, well, then you're going to be different with that person. Now, are you going to be inauthentic by being professional with that person? No, you're just going to be the relevant level of authentic based on the environment, based on the situation, and based on the people that you're around. So think of that when it comes to personal branding. So on one side, you've got your best friend, you can be 100% yourself with them, 100% authentic. On the other side, you've got your boss, and you're going to be the relevant level of authentic for that person. And what you're going to do is you're going to accentuate certain characteristics that are going to appeal to that person and appeal to that environment. And that's the exact same within personal branding. When you're trying to appeal to your audience, understand who your audience is, understand the characteristics that they have and what they're looking for from you, from your brand, and then decide on the characteristics that are most suited to attract that type of person. And then you can just accentuate those characteristics. Now, it's important not to over accentuate and kind of, you know, become this persona that you're not. You're not trying to be somebody that you're not. You're just trying to deliver the right level of characteristics and the right level of authenticity to this particular environment. So accentuate those characteristics that are going to appeal more to your audience within that environment, and be the right level of authentic to your audience in that environment for personal branding. But it is important to remember there is no substitute for authenticity. And, you know, you can see this online. You can spot the phonies and the fakes a mile away because they're too polished. Everything is refined and everything is polished. And, you know, those who are authentic kind of let it all hang out there a little bit. They don't try to be too polished, and, you know, they're not afraid to show some flaws, because it's within those flaws that we're actually attracted to people. We see that they're not perfect, and we see that they're just a human, and that's how we make those human connections. And that's what, at the end of the day, that's what authenticity is all about. So remember, there is no substitute for that authenticity. And, you know, look, if you are going out on your own for the first time and you're building this personal brand and you're putting yourself out there for the first time, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, you know, especially if you're creating content, if you're doing videos, whether it's on social media, on YouTube, and, you know, you're putting yourself out there for the first time. You're not going to be completely comfortable, therefore you're not going to be completely authentic until you have a bit of experience behind you. But the more experience you have behind you, the more comfortable you're going to become. And the more comfortable you are, that's when your real personality comes out, and that's when, you know, you can be the right level of authentic. As I said before, you're not going to be 100% you the way you will be with your best mate, but maybe you'll be 70 to 80%, and that's enough. That's enough to, you know, to give enough of yourself to your audience so that they can see that you're a real person and they can make a connection with you. So the second side of that question is in relation to business branding. Now, the difference between business branding and personal branding is that with personal branding, there's a person there already. There's a personality there already, and you're not trying to create something that's not already there. You're just trying to accentuate, you're trying to bring out the right level of authenticity. When it comes to business branding, there is no personality there. That has to be developed. And what we're trying to do with business branding is we're trying to make this corporate entity, this business, seem like a relatable human persona. And that's what we need to do with building a personality. We need to build a personality for that brand. And the best way to do that is through brand archetypes. Now, I'm not going to get into archetypes in this video. I'll do another video on brand archetypes, but archetypes are the framework that I use when developing personalities for the brands that I build, and it allows you to define who your audience is based on their personality type, and then assign a personality that's going to be best suited to attracting them. Now, the archetype framework and the base archetype that you use is only the starting point. You then need to, make that into a realistic personality, a realistic persona with attitudes, opinions, a tone of voice, and certain type of language that it would use. And then once you have your personality, once you're at that level, then you can start to think about authenticity. Now, authenticity will relate back to the internal brand. So the internal brand is based on those belief systems and those values that the brand holds there. And this is defined in the brand strategy itself. It's one of the early parts of developing that brand strategy, is developing that internal brand. But being real to those values, being authentic to those values and that belief system is really, really important. And following through on that, following through throughout your messaging, throughout your storytelling, throughout every form of communication. So that comes through in your tone of voice, in the language that you use when you're posting on social media. How do those social media posts sound? Is there a bit of personality behind it, a bit of authenticity behind it? So again, don't try to be too polished with everything you do. Let it all hang out there, and be a little bit rough around the edges. Now, depending on who your audience is and depending on the personality that you've defined for your brand, it will be different from one brand to the next. But make sure that your personality comes across as human, and then tie your authenticity into what you believe and what you state and what your values are, and make sure that that follows through in everything you do and all of your brand communication. But I'd love to hear from you about your experience with brand authenticity. Have you seen a brand out there that you absolutely love, that just feel like a human persona? They let it all hang out there. They're not afraid to be rough around the edges. They're not trying to be too politically correct or too polished. If you've seen a brand out there like that, then please let me know in the comments below. I love brands like that. I love to check them out. If you've got any questions in relation to brand authenticity, if you're still trying to figure out the whole human brand persona, brand personality development, then let me know in the comments below. If you've got any questions at all about authenticity, let me know in the comments below as well. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. It'll let you know when I've got a new video out. And until then,